Hey everybody, welcome to Bible class. Now tonight, Bible class is going to be basically what I'm going to call a big overview review, maybe summary, of the life of Joseph. We're not going to get into a lot of the details, but we're going to just go over and see if we can remember what all happened in his life. So I want you to watch this and just pay attention to the big things, because that's what this is all about. Where Joseph began and where he ended and all the things in between. And then we'll talk just a little bit after that. So let's watch.
Boom, ba-boom, 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 boom, ba-boom, boom,
Joseph got a special coat from his father because Joseph was his favorite son. Joseph had two dreams, one about grain sheaves and one about the sun, moon, and stars all bowing down to him. This made his brothers super angry and jealous, so they decided to sell him into slavery. He was sold into Potiphar's house, where God was with him, and he was in charge of all of Potiphar's house, even his laundry. Nevertheless, Potiphar's wife tricked him and got him thrown into jail. But while he was in prison, God was with him, and he interpreted the dreams of the cupbearer and the baker. 2 years later, Joseph was remembered by the cupbearer and interpreted Pharaoh's dreams about corn and cows. There would be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Because he gave such great advice and had the Spirit of God in him to interpret dreams, Pharaoh put him in charge of all of Egypt. Then came the 7 years of plenty. And just like the 7 years of plenty, the 7 years of famine arrived. So his brothers came to Egypt to get food without Benjamin. And they came a second time, but this time they had to bring Benjamin. It was on this second trip that Joseph revealed his identity to his brothers and said, "I am Joseph." So his whole family came down to Egypt, where Joseph was able to provide for them. After 17 years in Egypt, Jacob, Joseph's father, he died. And his brothers remembered what they had done to Joseph. They were afraid Joseph would punish them now that Jacob was dead. Joseph forgave his brothers. He said, "What you intended for evil, God intended for good." And then he died.
So maybe some of that was a little bit goofy, but that's maybe the point, because I want you to remember those things. It's important that we remember what is in God's Word. But one thing let me bring out here. As you look at the story, the account of the life of Joseph, there were some things that happened to Joseph that seemed bad. There's not really another way to say it. His brothers, they beat him up and they sold him into slavery. That's not a good thing to happen. And then while he was in slavery, Potiphar's wife got him thrown into jail. Not a good thing to happen. And it would be 20 years before he would see his family again. Now, whenever I think about those things, I look at it and I go, man, all this bad stuff happened to Joseph. But one thing that I think is very important for all of us to remember is that it didn't matter what was happening to Joseph, God was always with him. Now in life, whenever we live, sometimes bad things might happen to us. There are things that will happen that we may not enjoy and will dislike, and we may feel, like I bet Joseph probably felt, like God had left us. But he hasn't, and he won't. His word tells us, as long as we stay with him, he will never leave or forsake us. He is always with us. And that's an important thing for us to remember. And that's something that the story of Joseph and his life and what happened to him, it reminds me that God is always with me, even whenever it seems like he may not be. So thank you for coming to Bible class. I hope that you had a good time reviewing and just looking at this overview summary of the life of Joseph. And I hope that I will see you again next time.